Did you know that there used to be Olympic medals awarded for poetry? The new album by Lana Del Rey. I'm kidding. And also, this isn't clickbait. This is a genuine thing that I just discovered. There used to be Olympic medals awarded for the arts as late as 1948. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm currently hyperfixating on the Olympics. I will be becoming obsessed with canoeing or curling or diving on a random Tuesday morning in July. Like, yes, I will be doing a cursory 2-minute Google search of the rules of archery and then 5 minutes later critiquing an Olympic athlete's form. That's part of the fun. And this year's Olympic Games is actually taking place on the set of the hit movie Ratatouille in Paris. And it's been a fun time so far. It's basically the only time I ever find myself feeling genuinely patriotic. Like all of a sudden I'm swearing allegiance to Paddington Bear. Team GB until I die, or at least in 2 weeks when I get bored of it. But for now at least, I'm very much enjoying my time watching the hot athletes. I mean, the sports. No, I mean the hot athletes. Who are we kidding? I'm obsessed with the people who are changing their dating app preferences to the Olympic Village. Work smart, not hard. I respect it. I respect the hustle. Go find yourself some Olympians, guys. I'm rooting for you. But anyway, all this to say, it turns out that there were once medals awarded for literature, for music, for art, for architecture, for sculptures at the Olympic Games. Finally, some recognition for the thought daughter. And this is from the official Olympics website too. This is legit. Allow me to explain. Let's dive in like Tom Daly. In ancient Greece, art and sport went hand in hand, with the ideal way to achieve harmony considered to be by exercising both body and mind. When the founder of the modern Olympic movement, Baron Pierre de Coubertin, laid out his plans for the future of the Games, he wanted there to be a strong connection between athletes, artists, and spectators, and so art competitions dedicated to sports began to appear on the Olympic program. So this plan was originally discussed at the Olympic Congress in 1906, just before the 1908 London Games. However, since they were only a couple of years away, they decided it wasn't enough time for people to contribute their art, and so his proposal did not come into action until 1912. The next Olympic Games were in Stockholm, we're in Sweden, and this is finally happening. Now, people were a little bit skeptical about this, and I think that's because usually sports have an objective winner. The first person to cross the finish line is the winner. The second person to cross the finish line comes in second, and so on and so forth. In other sports, the person who throws the thing the furthest is the winner. You get the point. You don't need me to mansplain how people win sports to you, but the point is, art, on the contrary, is inherently subjective. We have book prizes, art awards, but these need to be judged. There has to be a judging panel because there is no other way of determining a natural winner. There is no objective winner, and so that is why there is uproar in the art community when people, for example, compile lists of the 100 best books of the century so far, because there is no way that one person could have possibly read every single book, and therefore it cannot be objective. And even so, even if they had read every single book ever published, it would still come down to their personal opinion and personal discretion. I will caveat this by saying that some Olympic sports are of course judged. For example, figure skating, freestyle skiing, diving, snowboarding, but there is still a specific criteria that they are being judged against. Whereas art, by its very nature, maybe even the point of art is the fact that it exists outside of this framework. Art is about pushing the envelope, doing something different, something that hasn't been done before, and so there is no way of objectively judging it. So anyways, back to 1912. Medals were awarded in 5 categories: architecture, literature, music, painting, and sculpture. At first, the categories were general, but they were later divided into specific categories, such as literature in a drama, lyric, or epic, orchestral and instrumental music, solo and chorus singing, drawings, graphic arts, and paintings, statues, reliefs, medals, plaques, and medallions. Even architecture made an appearance on the program with its own town planning category. One fun fact is that in some categories, in some circumstances, medals just weren't awarded. If no one was good enough, they didn't award a medal. If the judges were just simply unable to determine a champion, they might only award a bronze medal, for example, which I have to say is violently humbling. Imagine being given the bronze medal, but no one won silver or gold. Like, congratulations, what you did was aggressively average. Imagine not winning the Olympic medal and then finding out that no one even beat you. Not to be dramatic, but I would kill myself. A total of 33 people participated in the inaugural art competition in 1912, with gold medals awarded in all 5 categories. Judges were only allowed to score works that had never been exhibited anywhere else, and they had to be dedicated to sports. So to give you an idea of what this included and what constitutes an Olympic gold medal piece of art, a sculpture of a chariot won the sculpture competition, a modern stadium building plan won the architecture prize, friezes depicting winter sports won the painting prize, and an Olympic triumphal march won gold in music. The interesting thing is that Walter Winans from the USA managed to win gold in both sculpture and in shooting. So truly a jack of all trades. I am a jack of none. This is where the story gets a little bit insane and kind of corrupt. And by kind of, I mean extremely. So let me explain. The literature competition in Stockholm had fewer than 10 entrants. Tangentially, one of those entrants actually had won a bronze medal in fencing in the 1900 Olympic Games, so that's pretty cool. But he was not as successful this time around. But you know who was successful? The Germans, who won the gold medal. George Horrod and Martin Eskbach won for their work titled Ode to Sport. And according to LitHub, the jury was effusive in their commendations, calling the piece far and away the winner because it praises athletics in a form that is both literate and athletic. The narrative ideas are arranged, classified, and expressed in a series that is flawless in logic and harmony, which is high praise indeed, right? Well, here's the twist. These people did not actually exist. It was ... Rebecca Vardy's account. No. Horrod and Eskbach was actually a pseudonym for one person. You know who that one person was? Baron Pierre de Coubertin, the guy who organized the entire thing. Remember him? He literally won the competition that he organized. Like I said, work smart, not hard, but Jesus, come on. I'm all for self-love, but that's insane. He basically said that he was worried that there wouldn't be enough entrants to the prize, and so that is why he entered it himself. And I have to say, it is kind of iconic to create a category at the Olympic Games and then win it yourself. Is that iconic? Yes. Yes, it is, but also how do you sleep at night? You know? Where do you even display that medal? Do people coming over to your house not ask you, oh, hang on a minute, don't you organize those? How come you have one? In my head, I don't really understand how this managed to even happen in the first place. Like, was it awarded in absentia? Or did he wear a disguise? Like Scooby-Doo on the aeroplane, like Kevin and Marcus in White Chicks? Did he have like a fake mustache and glasses? Was it like a Cinderella story where she just puts on a mask and no one noticed? You know, how did he get away with this? Because it wasn't until years later that people realized that the guy who organized the prize had won it. But this little lick of controversy was not enough to derail the art awards at the Olympic Games. In fact, the art competitions continued to garner increasing support and attention year after year. At the 1924 Olympics in Paris, there were 193 entrants, including 3 Soviet artists, even though the Soviet Union did not participate in the Olympic Games at the time because they considered it a bourgeois festival. Like R.I.P. Karl Marx, you would have hated the decathlon. Then, by 1928 in Amsterdam, more than 1,100 participants were recorded, one of whom was Paul Landowski. He won a gold medal for his sculpture of a boxer, but you might recognize him more for the fact that he built the Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio just 6 years earlier. The rules still were kind of dodgy, and people were allowed occasionally to submit previously published work. For example, Jan Wills won the Olympic gold medal for architecture for his design of the Olympic stadium that the event was being held in. At that very same Olympics, like imagine you turn up to the architecture contest and your op is the person who designed the venue. That doesn't seem massively fair, does it? The arts competition continued to be a feature of the Olympics through to 1948. However, in 1949, the IOC Congress concluded that since almost all contestants in the art competitions were professionals, it didn't reflect the amateur status of the Olympics. The IOC attempted to revive competitions at Helsinki in 1952, but the idea was rejected by the hosts. In 1954, the competitions were once and for all replaced by art exhibitions. The final silver medalist of the Poetry Prize was a South African poet. His name is Ernst van Heerden, and he was not only the first openly gay Olympic medal winner, he also went on to captain the weightlifting team at the next Olympic Games. Another guy called John Copley from Britain won silver in 1948 for his engraving polo players, and he was actually 73 years old at the time, making him the oldest ever medalist in Olympic history, if his victory still counted, which it does not. Because although from 1912 to 1952, the juries awarded a total of 151 medals to works in the fine arts inspired by athletic endeavours, none of those count anymore. All 151 medals that had been awarded were officially stricken from Olympic records and currently do not count towards a country's total number of Olympic medals. So if for some reason you're sitting there wondering, is it possible to read the Olympic medal winning poetry? I'm sorry to be the one to break this to you. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but the answer is mostly no. Historian Tony Paratet has noted that many of the winning poems in the Olympics have mysteriously vanished, perhaps, as critics have suggested, because of their dubious literary quality. Paratet, along with Bernard Kramer and Richard Stanton, have unearthed sword songs. This is Dorothy Margaret Stewart's silver medal work from the 1924 Paris Games, but Paratet was not impressed. He said its florid, rhyming verse is a little out of date and sometimes reads like a Monty Python skit. So, though at one point there was an Olympic medal for poetry, it does not exist anymore. We can't really find many of the records of the winning poems. I will say this is usually the case with poems written for an occasion. They do tend to be kind of gimmicky, not always, but a lot of the time. And of course, you also have to remember that they were being written to impress a specific set of judges who were looking for works about athletic endeavors. So I'm sure they were inevitably prone, let's say, to overstatement and hyperbole and maybe even ego rubbing. So yeah, those don't really exist anymore. And the Olympic Committee have really tried to sort of scrub this from the records and now no longer even consider these Olympic medals as valid as part of a country's medal count. So not a good day to be a poet or a sculptor or an architect who specifically wants to create art inspired by sports. That's a shame. And I don't think that there's very much chance of these being revived anytime soon. Nowadays, there's usually art commissioned around the Olympic Games. I know that in London 2012, there are a lot of big competitions, but these usually have cash prizes rather than Olympic medals. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you learned something from this. I certainly did by researching it. One thing that I would personally award an Olympic gold medal to, something that is consistently prize winning, in my opinion, is today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building a website or an online brand. And the best news is you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have Olympian standard levels of coding because Squarespace has done all of the hard work for you. They have hundreds of incredible templates which you can customize and build from and make your own, including features like the ability to make a blog, to make an email sign-up list, for your customers to have flexible payments. They also have AI SEO, which basically means that your website will appear higher up on search engines and all of your hard work will not go to waste. So if this all sounds good to you, you can head to squarespace.com right now for a free trial. And then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, you can use the code jackedwards at squarespace.com/jackedwards to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. You lucky sausage. The link is down below. Thank you so much to Squarespace for working with me. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you follow me over on my second channel, on my Instagram, on Goodreads, Letterboxd even. If there is a social media, I guarantee I will be there yapping about books in some capacity. So thank you for watching this video. All the best. Stay in touch. Have a wonderful day and I will catch you very, very soon. Bye-bye.